High fructose corn syrup, industrial dough conditioners, and trans fats from partially hydrogenated oils have all been found hiding inside some of America's most popular sourdough bread brands. That golden crust and tangy flavor you trust? Open the wrong loaf and what you're really eating is bleaching agents, emulsifiers linked to cardiovascular damage, and refined sugars dressed up as old-world baking tradition. If this has been your go-to bread for 10, 20, 30 years, everything's sitting between those slices inside your body that entire time. Today, we're breaking down 7 sourdough brands that fail to deliver anything close to real fermentation, including 2 that most families consider premium staples, plus the 5 brands that actually bake the real thing, with nothing to hide. Coming in at number 7, Franz San Francisco style sourdough. The name alone does all the heavy lifting. San Francisco style, printed across the bag in big, confident letters. For loyal Pacific Northwest shoppers, Franz has been a household name for generations, the bread you grab without thinking because your family has always grabbed it. But calling something San Francisco style doesn't mean it went through San Francisco's legendary slow fermentation process. It means marketing wrote a compelling label. Lab-style ingredient analysis tells a different story entirely. Franz uses commercial yeast as the primary leavener, not a wild sourdough starter. There's added sugar in the formulation, and some versions have contained partially hydrogenated oils, the source of artificial trans fats that the FDA moved to eliminate from the American food supply because of how directly they cause heart disease. Trans fats raise your LDL cholesterol, the dangerous kind, while simultaneously lowering your HDL cholesterol, the protective kind. That's not a side effect. That's a double attack on your cardiovascular system happening with every single sandwich you make. For anyone managing cholesterol levels or families feeding this to kids every single day at lunch, that's not bread. That's a slow cardiovascular compromise wrapped in regional nostalgia and generational habit. Pull a slice out of the bag. Squeeze it. Feel how soft and uniform it is, how it compresses without resistance. Real sourdough has an irregular crumb, large holes, a chewy pull that fights back. This feels like sandwich bread because it is sandwich bread with a geographic alias. The tang, if you taste any at all, is simulated. No wild cultures, no long rise, no natural acid development. San Francisco style. Zero San Francisco substance. Franz built decades of trust across the Pacific Northwest. They repaid it with a label that promises tradition and delivers industrial production. That bag in your bread box right now? Sourdough in name only. If the brand your family has trusted for decades is faking it, surely a name you recognize from every American grocery aisle does better, right? Not even close. At number 6, Oroweat Country sourdough. Oroweat wraps itself in words like hearty and country style, evoking images of rustic farmhouse kitchens and flour-dusted wooden tables where bread was made by hand. Generations of families have reached for this loaf believing it carried wholesome intentions in every slice. What it actually carries is enriched bleached flour, the nutritional equivalent of stripping a grain of everything your body needs and then taping a few synthetic vitamins back on to meet federal minimums. But the real problem is what they add to that stripped flour. Calcium peroxide, a chemical bleaching agent used to whiten the dough artificially. It makes the bread look clean and pure. It has absolutely nothing to do with nutrition and everything to do with visual appearance on the shelf. Then there's calcium propionate, a preservative pumped into the loaf to extend shelf life far beyond what any naturally fermented bread could ever survive on its own. Calcium propionate has been linked to digestive irritation and gastrointestinal discomfort, particularly in adults over 50, whose digestive systems are already working harder with less efficiency than they used to. And here's what bleaching the flour actually costs your body. The process destroys vitamin E, strips away B vitamins, and eliminates the natural fiber that whole grains provide. For seniors focused on maintaining bone density alongside daily calcium supplements, or families trying to eat cleaner without realizing what country style actually means, those are the exact nutrients you cannot afford to lose from your daily bread. Tear open the bag. That uniform, cottony white crumb inside tells you everything. That's not the mark of craftsmanship. That's the mark of industrial processing designed to look inviting while delivering the least possible nutrition per slice. Wholesome intentions. Hollow bread. Oroweat charges a premium for the word country on a label. What they deliver is city factory bread with a longer shelf life than any honest loaf deserves. You just saw what heritage branding hides behind rustic vocabulary. So what about the brand synonymous with American sourdough itself? Number 5. Boudin sourdough, the retail packaged version. Boudin is San Francisco sourdough. Founded during the gold rush, baking with the same mother starter for over 170 years. When you visit their bakery on Fisherman's Wharf, you can watch the loaves come out of the oven in real time. You can smell that deep, complex tang filling the entire room. You can tear into a warm crust that shatters and gives way to a soft, airy interior that pulls apart in long strands. Now walk into a grocery store 3 states away and pick up the plastic-wrapped retail version sitting under fluorescent lights. It's a different product entirely. The mass-distributed Boudin loaves contain added vinegar to simulate the tang that real fermentation creates naturally over many hours. They include preservatives not found in the fresh bakery counterparts. The tang you taste isn't earned through biology. It's manufactured through chemistry. Vinegar mimics acidity but skips the entire biological process that makes sourdough genuinely beneficial for your body. Real fermentation breaks down phytic acid, the compound in grain that blocks your body from absorbing calcium and iron. Without that fermentation, the phytic acid stays locked in the bread, and every mineral passes through your system unused. For seniors concerned about calcium absorption alongside osteoporosis prevention, or anyone managing iron deficiency anemia with supplements and careful diet choices, that's a critical difference between real sourdough and a retail imitation wearing a famous name. The preservative load adds another layer of concern for people with kidney issues, where filtering unnecessary chemical additives puts daily strain on organs already working at reduced capacity. A 170-year legacy, shrink-wrapped and shipped nationwide. The starter didn't travel with it. The tradition stayed in San Francisco. The grocery store version is a postcard, not the destination. If this helps you stay safer at the store, hit subscribe. It's free, and it means you'll never miss these exposés. Think the only fakes are regional brands trading on geography? Wait until you see what a national icon is pulling off. Number 4. Pepperidge Farm sourdough bread. That red paper bag. That New England farmhouse logo with the white picket fence. Pepperidge Farm has been selling nostalgia since 1937. The brand evokes images of goldfish crackers after school, soft dinner rolls at Thanksgiving, and a simpler era of American baking when ingredients didn't need a chemistry degree to pronounce. Millions of older consumers trust this brand implicitly and without question. They grew up with it. Their parents served it. It feels like home. But flip that familiar red bag over and actually read the ingredient list. Commercial yeast is the primary leavening agent, not a sourdough starter, not wild fermentation. Baker's yeast, the same fast-acting powder used in every mass-produced white bread on the shelf next to it. Then there's malted barley flour, sugar, and soy lecithin, none of which belong anywhere near a genuine sourdough recipe. Real sourdough needs 3 ingredients: flour, water, oat. Pepperidge Farm needs a chemistry set, but the ingredient that should concern you most is the one you'd never notice without measuring: sodium. The sodium content per serving in Pepperidge Farm sourdough is elevated well beyond what a naturally fermented loaf would contain. For seniors managing hypertension on ACE inhibitors, or anyone watching sodium intake because their doctor told them to cut back after their last blood panel, excess sodium directly counteracts the medication you depend on every morning. You're taking a pill to bring your numbers down and eating a sandwich 2 hours later, that pushes them right back up. 2 slices undoing what your prescription is fighting to accomplish. Nostalgia built this brand. The farmhouse doesn't exist. Home-baked is a feeling they manufactured with fonts and photography. The nostalgia is real. The sourdough is a costume. At least Pepperidge Farm is honest about being a mass-market brand. The next one dresses up factory production as handmade European artisan craft. Number 3. Sara Lee Artisano sourdough. Artisano. Say it slowly. It sounds handcrafted. It sounds European. It sounds like a baker shaped this loaf carefully by hand in a stone oven somewhere quiet, warm, and traditional. Sara Lee designed every element of this product to trigger exactly that response. The name, the packaging, the soft golden crust photographed in warm studio lighting. Here's what artisan actually means to Sara Lee. High fructose corn syrup. It's right there on the ingredient label for anyone who bothers to turn the bag around. High fructose corn syrup in sourdough bread. Real sourdough doesn't need any sweetener whatsoever because the long fermentation develops its own complex flavor profile naturally. Adding high fructose corn syrup is an admission that no real fermentation occurred in this loaf. The sweetness covers up the emptiness where flavor depth should be. Then comes soybean oil and mono and diglycerides, emulsifiers used to give industrial bread a soft, appealing texture without the time-intensive process that creates genuine crumb structure. Every shortcut has a chemical solution. Every chemical solution has a health cost. For anyone managing insulin resistance or watching cholesterol levels closely, or families who chose the premium-looking loaf thinking they were making a better choice for their kids, the combination combination of hidden sugars and inflammatory seed oils is a daily metabolic insult disguised as a sophisticated upgrade. High fructose corn syrup spikes blood sugar faster than regular table sugar. Soybean oil is among the most inflammatory cooking oils consumed in America today. Both are sitting inside a loaf marketed as the artisan choice for discerning shoppers. Slice into it. That perfectly uniform, pillowy white interior with no irregular holes, no chewy resistance, and no crackling crust tells the whole truth. Artisano means artisan in Italian and Spanish. In Sara Lee's factory, it means high fructose corn syrup with a European accent. The most dishonest bread in the most beautiful bag. See the pattern? Budget brands bleach the flour. Heritage brands fake the tang. Artisan labels add corn syrup. So where does that leave the biggest retailer in America? Let's find out. Number 2. Marketside sourdough bread. Walmart's store brand. Walmart moves more groceries than any single retailer on earth. Their Marketside label is designed to feel one careful step above generic, a house brand that suggests quality at an everyday price. The name Marketside evokes a farmer's market, something local and curated and personally selected. What you're getting is industrial bakery production optimized for the lowest possible cost per unit shipped. The ingredient list reads like a food science textbook. DATEM, sodium stearoyl lactylate, added sugar. DATEM is diacetyl tartaric acid ester of mono and diglycerides. That name alone should make you suspicious. It's a dough conditioner that lets manufacturers skip long fermentation entirely by chemically forcing the gluten structure into the shape that time would normally create. Sodium stearoyl lactylate does the same thing from a different chemical angle, creating softness and volume without time, without craft, without a living culture ever touching the dough at any point. These are the fingerprints of factory bread. No artisan bakery on earth uses DATEM. No sourdough tradition in any country requires sodium stearoyl lactylate. These chemicals exist for one reason only: speed. And speed is the enemy of everything that makes sourdough nutritionally beneficial. The excess sodium and emulsifier load is particularly concerning for anyone managing high blood pressure or cardiovascular health on daily medication, or people whose doctors have explicitly told them to watch what they eat. Emulsifiers have been studied for their potential to disrupt gut lining integrity, and for people already dealing with systemic inflammation or chronic digestive sensitivity, that disruption adds a layer of risk you never consented to. Farmers market branding. Factory floor reality. Every loaf is a calculated compromise between what sounds good on the packaging and what costs the absolute least to produce at massive scale. Walmart charges less because they put less in. You get what you pay for. Actually, you get less. The next brand on this list is in almost every American household, and it's the most dangerous name on this entire countdown. You've seen budget brands cut corners. You've seen heritage names fake tradition. You've seen artisan labels lie in Italian. But the #1 spot belongs to the brand that took everything fake about industrial sourdough and stamped it with the most trusted household name in American bread history. Number 1. Wonder Bread Sourdough. Wonder Bread, the brand that defined American bread for an entire century. The red, yellow, and blue balloons, the soft white slices that built 1,000 childhood sandwiches and 1,000,000 packed lunches. When Wonder Bread launched a sourdough variety, millions of shoppers dropped it into their carts without a second thought. Because it's Wonder Bread, because mom bought it, because the name alone feels safe and familiar and American. It isn't safe. The ingredient list reveals added sugars, soybean oil, and calcium sulfate, an industrial calcium compound used as a firming agent in commercial baking operations. There is no evidence of genuine long fermentation anywhere in the formulation. No wild culture, no extended rise, no natural acid development, no living starter. This is the same industrial white bread Wonder has always mass-produced with the word sourdough printed on the plastic packaging. That's the entire difference between this and their regular white bread. One word. For anyone managing blood sugar levels carefully, or families using this as their daily sandwich bread, assuming sourdough automatically means healthier, the refined flour and added sugars create glycemic spikes that standard white bread would be openly criticized for. But slap sourdough on the label and suddenly it feels like a smart nutritional choice. It's not smart, it's the oldest trick in food marketing. Take the cheapest product you already make, add a trending health word, and watch the sales climb. Wonder Bread built an empire on convenience. Now they're building on deception. Same bread, new label, your trust exploited. There is nothing wonderful about it. What's the worst sourdough you've ever bought? Drop it in the comments below. 7 brands. 7 loaves that call themselves sourdough without doing the work that word demands. But real sourdough does exist. Bakers who use wild starters, who wait 12, 24, 36 hours for fermentation to do what no chemical shortcut can replicate. Here are 5 brands that earn the name on their label. Safe pick number 1. Tartine bread, the country loaf. Tartine doesn't simulate sourdough, they define it. A wild yeast starter feeds into a cold fermentation that lasts anywhere from 12 to 36 hours, long enough for natural cultures to break down gluten and phytic acid without any chemical intervention whatsoever. The ingredient list is 3 items: flour, water, salt. That's it. Independent food bloggers and nutritional databases have verified this publicly, and the simplicity is almost shocking after reading the ingredient novels on the brands we just exposed. No dough conditioners, no emulsifiers, no added sugar, no soybean oil, no calcium sulfate. Pick up a tartine loaf and feel the weight in your hands. This is dense, substantial bread with a crackling crust that resists your grip before shattering into shards. Tear it open and look at the crumb structure. Irregular holes of different sizes, a slightly glossy interior, the unmistakable architecture of genuine long fermentation that no dough conditioner can replicate. Smell it. That deep, complex tang isn't vinegar sprayed on at the factory. It's lactic and acetic acid produced naturally over many hours of microbial activity inside a living culture. The extended fermentation also produces a measurably lower glycemic index compared to conventionally yeasted breads. For anyone focused on blood sugar regulation or families looking for bread that actually delivers what the label promises without hidden compromises, this is what sourdough is supposed to be. You won't find DATEM here. You won't find calcium sulfate, just bread made the way bread was made for thousands of years, before food science decided shortcuts were more profitable than patience. Safe pick number 2. King Arthur sourdough bread. King Arthur Baking doesn't just make sourdough. They publish exactly how they make it and dare you to check their work. Full transparency reports on sourcing, ingredients, and their carefully maintained sourdough culture are available for anyone who wants to verify the claims. This is a company that is 100% employee-owned and certified B Corporation, meaning every decision answers to the people who actually bake the bread, not distant shareholders demanding cheaper inputs and faster production cycles to boost quarterly margins. Every ingredient is traceable. No hidden additives, no dough conditioner, no emulsifiers designed to chemically fake what time and fermentation create naturally over hours of patient work. When you open a bag of King Arthur sourdough, the aroma is clean and tangy, without that flat, stale warehouse smell you get from loaves that sat in distribution centers for months before reaching your store shelf. The crumb has the telltale open structure of genuine long fermentation, holes of varying size, a slightly chewy pull when you tear it, a crust with real character and audible crackle. Genuine fermentation improves mineral bioavailability, meaning your body can actually absorb the magnesium, zinc, and calcium naturally present in the grain instead of passing them through unused. For seniors concerned about bone health alongside daily supplements, or anyone whose body needs every milligram of nutrition it can extract from food, this is bread that works with your biology instead of against it. King Arthur earns trust by showing their work publicly. No nostalgia tricks, no borrowed geography, no artisan labels hiding industrial realities behind beautiful packaging. Safe pick number 3. Bread Alone Organic Sourdough. Since 1983, Bread Alone has been baking in the Hudson Valley with organic flour, wild yeast starters, and wood-fired ovens that give every loaf a character no commercial oven can produce. No commercial yeast at any stage, no shortcuts at any point in the process. Over 40 years of the same method, the kind of consistency that only comes from genuine commitment, not from chemical stabilizers extending shelf life artificially. Their loaves carry USDA organic certification and contain exactly 3 ingredients: organic wheat flour, water, and sea salt. No preservatives, no added sugars, no soybean oil, no calcium propionate, quietly extending shelf life at the expense of your digestive comfort. The organic sourcing eliminates pesticide residue exposure, a factor that matters more with every decade of daily bread consumption as compounds accumulate in your system. Pull a loaf out of the bag and feel the crust with your fingers. It's thick, dark, and firm from the wood-fired oven, with a slight char at the edges that smells like actual baking happened here. Nothing like the soft golden shell of factory sourdough designed to photograph well under studio lights. Tear it open. The interior is moist, tangy, and genuinely complex, the product of wild cultures doing real biological work over real time. For anyone with a sensitive gastrointestinal system or people who switch to sourdough specifically hoping for easier digestion after years of bloating from commercial bread, the natural leavening breaks down the very compounds in wheat that cause discomfort and inflammation. You can taste the fire. You can smell the fermentation. 40 years of doing it right. Safe pick number 4, Semifreddy's Sourdough. Semifreddy's is a small-batch Northern California bakery that refuses to do what every brand on the avoid list does, rush the process. Every loaf ferments for a minimum of 24 hours using a heritage starter culture, the kind of living culture that takes years to develop and daily hands-on attention to maintain properly. They publish full ingredient transparency on their website for anyone to review. They've passed independent food safety audits with clean results. Their sourdough line contains no additives, no added sugars. The long fermentation significantly reduces FODMAP content, gas, cramping, and discomfort in people with IBS and chronic digestive sensitivity. For anyone dealing with ongoing digestive issues that conventional bread makes worse, or families looking for bread that won't quietly create the systemic inflammation, industrial loaves build one sandwich at a time. Semifreddy's removes the problematic compounds without removing any dimension of flavor. Slice into a Semifreddy's loaf and pay attention to how the knife works through it. The crust resists, cracks audibly, then gives way to an interior that's open, airy, and slightly tacky to the touch. That texture is visible proof of fermentation doing its work over a full day. No dough conditioner creates that structure. No emulsifier fakes that satisfying pull. This is a bakery that measures quality in hours, not minutes, and you can taste every one of them. Small batch means they chose craft over scale. That choice is in every bite. Safe pick number 5, Vermont Bread Company Organic Sourdough. Vermont Bread Company mills regionally sourced grains and uses a slow-rise sourdough method with no added sugars, no oils, and no preservatives anywhere in their organic line. They hold both USDA organic and non-GMO project-verified certifications, a double layer of independently audited accountability that most brands on the avoid list cannot come close to matching on their best day. Their sodium content is among the lowest in any commercially available sourdough bread, a detail that matters enormously for seniors managing hypertension on daily medication, or anyone watching sodium because every milligram influences how effectively their prescriptions work. The clean ingredient profile reads like a recipe from 100 years ago before industrial baking decided chemistry could replace time. Flour, water, salt, culture, nothing you can't pronounce. Nothing you wouldn't keep in your own kitchen. Open the bag and the difference from every brand we expose today is immediate. The loaf feels substantial without being heavy. The crust has a matte, flour-dusted finish that tells you a real baker shaped this by hand. The crumb is tight but tender, the hallmark of a slow rise that developed deep flavor gradually instead of forcing it chemically in minutes. For anyone who eats bread daily and wants to know that every slice supports their health rather than quietly undermining it behind a friendly label, Vermont Bread Company delivers what sourdough has always promised. No gimmicks, no chemistry, no betrayal. Real ingredients, real time, real bread. 7 fakes exposed, 5 loaves that prove real baking still exists. Subscribe now, and if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.